fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The sterile stench of the clinic clung to the back of my throat, a metallic tang that couldn't quite mask the coppery bite of blood. Kalen Var had negotiated peace treaties between the Krill and the Sylvani, brokered trade routes across warring star systems, but this felt fundamentally different. The rhythmic, almost hypnotic beeping of the biomonitor was a jarring counterpoint to the brutality etched onto the boy before me, Martin Russo. His ribs rose and fell in shallow, painful bursts, each breath a fragile victory. The exterminator's work, my jaw clenched, the muscles tight and aching. I'd seen their handiwork before, the calculated cruelty, but witnessing it inflicted on someone so vulnerable. I studied the damage, a split lip already swelling, the purple bloom of a contusion blossoming across his cheekbone. His skin was pale, almost translucent, highlighting the network of fine blue veins beneath. A faint tremor ran through his body, a shivering that wasn't entirely from the chill of the room. I could sense his fear, a raw, animalistic terror that resonated deep within my own chest, and something else. A fragile vulnerability that sparked a surge of protectiveness, a possessive heat I hadn't anticipated. It was unsettling. Miss Vithek's voice, precise and icy, cut through the silence. "Your concern is unusual, Ambassador." Her Venlil ears, delicate and pointed, twitched with barely concealed disdain. I could feel her skepticism, a cool wave washing over me. She didn't understand. None of them did. They saw a political asset, a key to unlocking information about the Exterminators network. I saw something more. I stepped closer, deliberately slowing my movements. My shadow fell across Martin's trembling form, and I watched as his eyes flickered, tracking my approach. The warmth radiating from my body seemed to envelop him, a small offering of comfort. I could feel his gaze on me, hesitant, questioning, and sense his awareness of my presence. He hadn't spoken, hadn't even met my eyes directly, but I felt a connection, tenuous as it was. "Call it professional interest," I said, my voice low, deliberately even. A lie, of course, a carefully constructed facade. The truth burned hotter, a primal ache in my chest. The way his breath hitched when I approached, the subtle tightening of his jaw, the almost imperceptible flinch as I moved, and the undeniable instinctive urge to press my palm against the rapid, erratic pulse point at his throat. Justice demanded I find those responsible. Yes, but this hunger, this need to claim him, to shield him from further harm, that was entirely personal, a dangerous, unwelcome complication. I felt a shiver trace its way down my spine as I gazed at Martin, his dark eyes finally locking onto mine. They were wide, filled with pain and fear, but beneath that I saw a flicker of something else, curiosity, recognition. The air seemed to thicken, to vibrate with a tension that was almost palpable. The scent of antiseptic became cloying, suffocating. I stood there, frozen, unsure of what to do next. Every instinct screamed at me to pull him closer, to offer some semblance of solace, but I held back. I was an ambassador, a negotiator, a man accustomed to control. This raw, visceral reaction was foreign, unsettling. Miss Vithek's voice, sharp and impatient, cut through the silence once more. "We must focus on the task at hand, Ambassador. The exterminators will not stop until they have achieved their goal. We need information, and Mr. Russo is our only source." I nodded, forcing my attention back to the larger picture. My mind raced with thoughts of strategy, of tactics, of how to dismantle the exterminator cell operating within the city, how to protect Martin, how to keep him safe. But my eyes kept returning to him, drawn to his like a moth to a flame. I couldn't explain it. It was as if we were two souls, adrift in a sea of chaos, inexplicably drawn together. I felt a sense of connection, of understanding that transcended logic or reason. It was as if I could feel his pain, his fear, his exhaustion. And I knew, with a certainty that resonated deep within my bones, that I would do anything to protect him. Anything. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, and I felt my heart rate quicken, my senses coming alive. I was acutely aware of every sound, the hum of the machinery, the soft rasp of Martin's breathing, the subtle click of Miss Vithek's claws against the metal floor. Every movement, every nuance of his expression. I was aware of the subtle rise and fall of his chest, the delicate pulse fluttering at his throat. I wanted to reach out, to smooth the dark hair from his forehead, to offer some small measure of comfort, but I resisted. I couldn't afford to let my personal feelings cloud my judgment, not now. The exterminators may have broken his body, but I would be the one to heal his soul. I would be the one to keep him safe, to shield him from the darkness that threatened to consume him. I would be his protector, his shield, his something more. The thought sent a surge of possessiveness through me, and I felt my jaw clench, my fists tighten. I would not let anyone harm him, not while I still breathed. And as I stood there, frozen, unsure of what to do next, I knew that I would do everything in my power to protect him, to keep him safe. The silence between us was palpable, thick with unspoken emotions, as I waited for Martin to speak, to say something, anything. But he just lay there, his eyes locked on mine, his chest rising and falling with each labored breath. He looked so small, so fragile. And I knew in that moment that I was lost, trapped in a web of my own making, a web of desire, of need, of a possessiveness that frightened even me. I was a man consumed, a man driven by passions I hadn't known I possessed, and I knew that I would stop at nothing to claim him, to make him mine. The thought sent a tremor through me, a dangerous, exhilarating thrill. Miss Vithek cleared her throat, her voice laced with impatience. "Ambassador, we must." I raised a hand, cutting her off. My eyes never left Martin's. "Not now, Miss Vithek, I need a moment." The silence that followed was oppressive, heavy with tension as I stood there, frozen, unsure of what to do next. But I knew that I would not back down, that I would not give up. I would do everything in my power to protect Martin, to keep him safe. And as I stood there, my eyes locked on his, I knew that I would stop at nothing to claim him, to make him mine. The faint scent of his fear, mingled with the sterile smell of the clinic, filled my senses. I had a feeling this was going to be far more complicated than any peace treaty I'd ever negotiated.